In January 1979, Richie was on a $10,000 bail. In the morning of February
Nah. This got bail for and then proceeded to assault somebody with attempted and get bail again? Are you serious? We got tough, horrible crimes committed by musicians. Let's check it out, man.
Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about musicians who committed horrible crimes. There is in fact no Danny DeVito in the back. Not forever. Just for this video and maybe the next one. But yeah, we got a Christmas tree. Woo! Festive. Also, my album Ear Candy comes out next month. We're getting closer. We're getting closer. Finally gonna give you guys a package.
I'm gonna go get some water.
But yeah, like I've said before, there will be an Ear Candy album movie here on this channel. It'll premiere live. And the album cover is officially released. Drum roll, please. The album cover is actually on my Instagram. I'm not going to show it in this video. We're almost at 100,000 on Instagram. So that would be amazing if you guys could go follow it. And also in news of the channel, we actually hit 100 million views. Woo! Give it up for us, man. We did that. Sir. 100 million views in total on this tough channel. Thank you guys so much. That's a lot of people looking at me, judging me behind the screen. I know you judged me behind the screen. Do you guys remember my hard drive video that I released like I think 2 or 3 weeks ago? Well, I got limited ads. Boom. I'm not going to make a big deal out of that, but I will say a big thank you to today's sponsor.
You know what I'm saying? Shout out them for sponsoring you. Yeah.
Sid Vicious. John Simon Ritchie, better known by his stage name Sid Vicious, was an English musician, best known as the bassist for punk rock band Sex Pistols. Despite dying in 1979 at age 21, he remains an icon to some of the punk subculture. To say John had a troubled childhood would be an understatement. He was raised by a single mother who sold marijuana to get by. She later remarried and John now had a stepdad, but sadly, that man passed away 6 months later due to kidney failure. By the time John was 15, his mother's life was consumed by a heroin and opiate addiction, causing him to feel lonelier than ever. While attending Kingsway College of Further Education, which was a school for students with difficulties, John admitted to a counselor that he had thoughts of and that he would torture and kill cats in his free time. That same year, Ritchie met fellow Kingsway student John Lydon, who introduced him to his friends John Gray and John Wardle. All four, who became known locally as the Four Johns, quit school and began squatting in various—
Wait, what did that say?
Fellow Kingsway student John Lydon, who introduced—
No images of John Gray or John Wardle since they weren't famous.
Introduced him to his friends John Gray and John Wardle. All four—
Enjoy the stock footage of the ocean.
Who became known locally as the Four Johns, quit school and began squatting in various dismal locations. 3 of the 4 Johns would then take nicknames. Lydon gave Ritchie the nickname Sid Vicious after Ritchie was bitten by Lydon's hamster, Sid. 2 years later in 1975, Glenn Matlock and Paul Cook joined the band, now rebranded to Sex Pistols. Though Ritchie still wasn't a part of the band. It wasn't until 1977 that tensions started rising between member Matlock and their manager Malcolm McLaren, which led to Matlock being kicked from their band for, quote, liking the Beatles. The work environment was pretty toxic, with Matlock revealing that their manager purposely made them pick fights with each other because he thought generating chaos between the band was a creative mechanism. Anyway, this is when John Ritchie, aka Sid Vicious, would finally join Sex Pistols and become their new bassist. Just a year later, on October 11th, 1978, Sid and his then girlfriend, Nancy Spungen, hosted a party in their hotel room, during which Vicious took approximately 30 Tuinal tablets, and while many people came and went, he was comatose for the rest of the night. At about 11 a.m. the next morning, hotel staff found Spungen dead on the bathroom floor, with a knife wound in her abdomen. Vicious was found wandering the hallway. He first claimed to have killed her, then said he remembered nothing. 2 people who had been at the party stated that Nancy was alive at 5 a.m. The murder weapon was identified as a Jaguar K11 hunting knife, which Nancy had purchased for Sid a few days earlier. Vicious was arrested and charged with second-degree murder. He told police that he and Nancy had argued that night, but gave conflicting versions of what happened next, saying, "I stabbed her, but I never meant to kill her," then saying that he didn't remember anything. Then after that, saying that Spungen had fallen onto the knife. Later, the arresting officer was quoted as having said, after an investigation, Vicious admitted killing Miss Spungen during a dispute. Though the situation was a bit hard to get out of because Ritchie admitted to stabbing her, his manager, his mother, and his label were able to get a top top-tier lawyer which arranged for Richie to be released on a $50,000 bail, with conditions that he wouldn't leave New York and that he'd sign in daily at the 3rd Homicide Unit offices. All legal costs were covered by Virgin Records. Just 2 months later, Richie found himself in another case when he was flirting with Todd Smith's girlfriend. No, not that Todd Smith, but he was flirting with a man's girlfriend, and when Smith told him to back off, well, Richie broke a beer bottle and jammed it into his face, leading to Smith getting 5 stitches and Richie being arrested and charged with assault. In January 1979, Richie would be released on a $10,000 bail. In the morning of February...
Nah. This nigga got bail for murder and then proceeded to assault somebody with attempted murder and get bail again? Are you serious?
1st, 1979, after completing his detoxification program, Richie was released from Rikers Island jail. When he arrived in Manhattan, he met his friend Peter Gravel. Vicious asked Gravel to find him some heroin, and Gravel brought $200 worth of the drug to the apartment. Gravel said that they sat around doing drugs and he left at 3 a.m. when the hard drug use began. He noted that Vicious was already nodding off, but he also said that Robinson, which was another friend of theirs, gave Vicious 4 Quaaludes to help him sleep. Vicious died that night of a drug overdose. Deborah Spungen, who is Nancy's mother, claimed that Vicious wrote a letter to her when he was hospitalized saying, "We always knew that we would go to the same place when we died. We so much wanted to die together in each other's arms. I cry every time I think about that. I promised my baby I would kill myself if anything ever happened to her, and she promised me the same. This is my final commitment to my love." No one's ever gonna know if Richie actually overdosed on purpose to meet Nancy again, or if he genuinely accidentally overdosed.
Wow.
Chuck Berry. Charles Edward Anderson.
Why does that name sound Chuck Berry sounds really familiar? Nah, that's crazy though. I ain't gonna lie. Him getting bond on murder is absurd. Getting bond on murder is crazy. And then assaulting someone and then getting bond again? Like, come on, bruh.
Berry was an American singer, songwriter, and guitarist who pioneered rock and roll. Nicknamed the father of rock and roll, he refined and developed rhythm and blues into major elements that made rock and roll distinctive with songs such as Maybelline, Roll Over Beethoven, Rock and Roll Music, and Johnny B. Good, which was featured on the classic Back to the Future. Writing lyrics that focused on teen life and consumerism, and developing a music style that included guitar solos and showmanship, Berry was a major influence on rock music. Though he's seen as a legend by many, the fact that he's a predator and full-on creep seems to be forgotten.
Wait,
after his peak fame, when Charles was 61 in 1987, he was charged with assaulting a woman at New York's Gramercy Park Hotel. He was accused of causing lacerations to the mouth requiring 5 stitches, 2 loose teeth, and contusions of the face. He pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of harassment and paid a $250 fine. 3 years later, in 1990, he was sued by several women who claimed that he had installed a video camera in the bathroom of his restaurant. Berry claimed that he had the camera installed to catch a worker who was suspected of stealing from the restaurant. Although his guilt was never proven in court, Berry opted for a class action settlement. One of his biographers,
Wow.
Bruce Pegg, estimated that it cost Berry over $1.2 million plus legal fees. His lawyers claimed that he had been a victim of conspiracy to profit from his wealth. Reportedly, a police raid on his house found intimate videotapes of women, one of whom was apparently a minor. Also found in the raid were 62 grams of marijuana. Felony drug and abuse charges were filed, and the abuse charges were eventually dropped, and Berry agreed to plead guilty to misdemeanor possession of marijuana. He was given a 6-month suspended jail sentence, placed on 2 years unsupervised probation, and was ordered to donate $5,000 to a local hospital. Still don't know why the abuse charges were dropped, even though there was apparently a video. Later videos Berry recorded of himself urinating on a woman, and another of her defecating on him would surface. And one of those videos is, it's on Reddit. Doesn't show that much, but you can hear a Chuck Berry fart and then ask, "Did I fart in your face?" Not gonna play the
Yo, that's kind of crazy
audio, but it's pretty odd and wild stuff. Nonetheless, the dude was a fucking creep, and he died on my birthday, March 18th, 2017. He died due to a cardiac arrest. It's so annoying that his music is built in all Teslas on their little Christmas mode. Hey Elon, this dude was a full-on predator.
Damn.
Bard Goldvik Ethan. Bard Goldvik Ethan, aka Faust, is a Norwegian drummer known primarily for his work with the black metal band Emperor. In 1993, he was sentenced to 14 years in prison for, get this, murder. He's been out of prison since 2003, but according to Ethan, while walking home from a pub through the Olympic Park, a well-known gay cruising spot, a man named Andressen drunkenly approached him and solicited him for sex. Ethan agreed to go with him to the nearby woods, and there he stabbed Andressen 37 times. Ethan claimed that he felt no remorse at the time. Ihsan, his bandmate and Emperor, said that Ethan, quote, had been very fascinated by serial killers for a long time, and I guess he wanted to know what it's like to kill a person. The media has linked the murder to black metal, and speculated that Ethan was motivated by Satanism, fascism, or homophobia. In a 1993 interview, he stated, "I am not a Satanist, but I praise the evil." In an interview for the book Lords of Chaos, he explained that he had been interested in Satanism, but there are other things as well. Basically, I don't give a shit. In a 2008 interview, Ethan said, "I was never a Satanist or a fascist in any way." In a 2012 interview, he said, "I never had any racist or homophobic views." Gal, who was an openly gay member of the Norwegian black metal scene, said that Ethan was the first person to send him a message of support when he came out. Police initially had no suspects, and Ethan remained free for about a year. However, he told Øystein Euronymous Arseth, Varg Vikernes, and a few others what he had done. After Vikernes' Øystein murder in 1993, which we will talk about next, Ethan was arrested and confessed to killing Andressen. In 1994, he was sentenced to 14 years imprisonment, but was released due to good behavior in 2003 after serving 9 years and 4 months.
What the fuck?
Varg Vikernes.
Doing 9 years for murder is crazy. You took somebody's whole life. You literally killed a whole person and only doing 9 years? How are these people getting off like this?
Now, the Mayhem Band is a topic you guys have requested a lot, but I honestly don't think I'm going to make a dedicated video to them anytime soon. There are some great documentaries here on YouTube all about that. However, I will talk about Varg Vikernes, the 1993 to 1994 bass player for the band. On June 6, 1992, the Fantovstave Church, dating from the 12th century and considered architecturally significant, was burned to the ground by arson. The cover of Burzum's EP, Ashes, is a photo of the destroyed church. By January 1993, arson attacks had occurred on at least 7 other major stave churches, including one on Christmas Eve of 1992. He was found guilty of several of these cases. At the time, media outlets reported that he was associated with some type of Satanism. In later interviews, Vikernes, while not accepting responsibility for the arsons, said they weren't satanic, but instead revenge for the Christian desecration of Viking graves and temples. According to him, the arsons were on the anniversary of the Lindisfarne Viking raid. He claimed that all the burnings except for one were done by one person. In early 1993, problems came between him and Euronymous, which was the band's lead guitarist, which ended up in Euronymous' murder. It's been speculated that the murder was a result of a power struggle, or a financial dispute, or maybe even an attempt at outdoing the stabbing by Faust. On the night of the murder, Vikernes and Blackthorn drove from Bergen to Euronymous' apartment at Toyengata in Also. Blackthorn allegedly stood in the stairwell smoking, while Vikernes went to Euronymous' apartment on the 4th floor. Vikernes said he met Euronymous at the door to hand him a signed contract, but when he stepped forward and confronted Euronymous panicked and kicked him in the chest. Vikernes claims Euronymous ran to the kitchen to fetch a knife. The two got into a struggle and Vikernes stabbed Euronymous to death. His body was found in the stairwell on the 1st floor with 23 stab wounds, 2 to the head, 5 to the neck, and 16 to the back. After the murder, Vikernes and Blackthorn drove back to Bergen. On the way, they stopped at a lake where Vikernes disposed of his blood-stained clothes. Vikernes was arrested on August 19, 1993 in Bergen. The police found 150 kilograms of explosives and 3,000 rounds of ammunition in his home. On May 16, 1994, Vikernes was sentenced to 21 years in prison, Norway's maximum penalty. The murder of Euronymous, the arson of 3 churches, the attempted arson of a 4th church, and for the theft and storage of 150 kilograms of explosives. Though Vikernes only confessed to the theft and storage of the explosives, 2 churches were set on fire the day he was sentenced.
You can say he was max prestige. Nah, this nigga was, I don't know what the fuck he was trying to do, but
continued with his band Burzum, which included one other member, Samath, after his release. He released 3 further black metal albums, Bellis in 2010, Fallen in 2011, and Skiptar in 2012, and a compilation of re-recorded songs. In the years following his release from prison, Vikernes became an active video blogger on his YouTube channel, which was called Thulian Perspective, but YouTube removed his channel from the platform in June 2019. But by that point, the channel had 250,000 subscribers, so there's a chance if he redeemed the 100,000 subscriber play button, that YouTube gave a murderer a play button. I'm talking about a murderer that had already killed someone, not like a YouTuber that ended up killing someone. Like they rewarded a murderer with a 100K play button.
Varg Vikenes, født
That's crazy.
11.2.73, dømmes til en straff av fengsel i 21 år.
That's crazy.
Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash was an American country singer-songwriter. Much of Cash's music contained themes of sorrow, moral tribulation, and redemption, especially in the later stages of his career. He was known for his deep, calming voice, kinda like me.
Stop.
In Los Angeles in the summer of 1965, Johnny Cash was living in the wilderness of Southern California when he sparked a wildfire with his overheated truck. It blazed through more than 500 acres and threatened the lives of endangered condors. This took the lives of 49 condors, and there were only 53 condors in that entire forest. Sad, because in 1987, the California condor was officially declared extinct in the wild, and it's safe to assume Johnny Cash had a lot to do with it. When asked by a judge if he started the fire, he said, "My truck did, and it's dead." So you can't question it. He ended up settling the case for $82,000, or about $500,000 in today's dollars. When held legally responsible,
Jesus fuck. Nigga's truck started like, bro, 500 acres? How do you do some shit, bro?
by investigators, Cash made lovely statements such as, "I don't care about your damn yellow buzzards." Yeah, he was definitely feeling pretty remorseful.
Wow.
If you guys are looking for ways to support the channel, other than just watching the videos, which I promise you it's already enough, thank you so much, you can also buy from the Earl brand. The website is earldoesn'texist.com, and we currently have our Christmas collection. You can follow us over on Instagram as well at
Earl.
on January 1st. And now let's head on to the next topic.
Earl.
Ozzy Osbourne. John Michael Ozzy
Was it because he was biting the heads off of bats?
Osbourne is an English singer, songwriter, and television personality. He rose to prominence during the 1970s as the lead vocalist of the heavy metal band Black Sabbath. On February 19th, 1982, Osbourne had a few too many drinks and ended up stumbling on the street in nothing but his girlfriend's dress. He was in a dress because she hid all his clothing in order so that he wouldn't go out anymore, but Ozzy being Ozzy, he just put on her dress and left. He ended up taking a leak and thought nothing of it, and it was later revealed that Ozzy peed within the Alamo Plaza, not the Alamo itself, but still pretty disrespectful as it's quite...
Oh, I was over there, chat. Yeah, we was just over here at the Alamo. That's kind of crazy. I was like, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool as hell.
Literally nicknamed the Heart of Texas. It holds this status because it represents the Battle of Alamo, which was a pivotal event in the Texas Revolution following a 13-day battle where Mexican troops reclaimed the mission, killing most of the occupants inside. Police arrested Ozzy, who spent part of the afternoon in a local jail on charges of public intoxication. He was later freed that evening on a $40 bond and performed at the city's Hemisphere Arena Convention Center. This also led to him being banned from playing in San Antonio, Texas for 10 years. Once those 10 years were up, a sober Ozzy came back and gave a proper apology.
He was allowed back in 1992 after an apology.
That's crazy.
DMX. On July 1st, 2004 at 8 p.m., DMX, whose real name was Earl Simmons, and his friend were at the JFK airport, specifically in the parking lot for Terminals 1, 2, and 3. Allegedly in a hurry, DMX and his accomplice were becoming irritated with the speed of the car in front of them, so DMX turned on the siren lights of his Ford Expedition. Why he had siren lights? I don't even know. DMX pulled the random car over, and keep in mind, the dude was with his wife and his daughter. DMX told the guy that he and his friend were FBI agents and attempted to drag him out of his own car. After failing to do so, DMX returned to his vehicle and crashed through a gate, where he was then arrested by Port Authority police and found with multiple rocks of crack cocaine. DMX and his friend, whose name is...
Did he really? What the fuck? Nah, that's crazy. I don't remember this. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer had a very shiny nose. What's up? Is that? You know what I'm saying? Hey.
Jackie Hudgens were charged with cocaine possession, criminal impersonation, criminal possession of a weapon, criminal mischief, driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol, also for claiming being a federal agent and attempting to carjack a vehicle. The victim was originally seeking compensation in the amount of $4 million from DMX. DMX's attorney, Rich Cord, spoke on behalf of his client, explaining that the rapper felt he was justified in pulling the victim over and making a citizen's arrest. He went on to say, his vehicle looked like it was a police vehicle, and he believed the victim should have gotten out of the way. When the victim didn't get out of his way, he decided he should pull him over. He readily admits to making believe he was an FBI agent and telling the victim to get out of the car. He denies striking him or trying to pull him out of the car. DMX was given a conditional discharge on December 8, 2004, but pleaded guilty on October 25, 2005 to violating parole. Here's a clip of DMX talking about it on The Breakfast Club in 2012.
I was rushing for a flight.
Right.
And this dude in the raggedy ass Honda, he driving wild slow.
Right.
Now, usually if I'm in a rush, you know what I'm saying, and I'm in that truck, I hit the lights and, you know, throw the siren or whatever, and they get out the way.
Right.
But he was just totally disrespecting my authority. Not that I really had the authority. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really have the authority. But what if I really did have the authority?
Right.
So you
What
threw the
if-
light on.
Yeah, I threw the light on.
So you just have sirens in your car.
Well, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
I think that made you feel like you had more authority than you actually had.
He said nigga was disrespecting my authority. I ain't have none, but he was disrespecting it. Nah, that's crazy. Oh man, RIP DMX, man. That is fucking hilarious. RIP, man.
Rick James. James Ambrose Johnson Jr. was an American singer-songwriter, musician, and record producer. Born and raised in Buffalo, New York,
Rick
James
James,
began
bitch.
his musical career in his teenage years. He was in plenty of bands before entering the U.S. Navy Reserve to avoid being drafted into the Army. In 1964, James deserted to Toronto, Canada, where he formed the rock band the Mynah Birds, who eventually signed a recording deal with Motown Records in 1966. Johnson's career with the group halted after military authorities discovered his whereabouts and eventually convicted him of desertion-related charges. He served a few months in jail. After being released, Johnson moved to California, where he started a variety of rock and funk groups in the late 1960s and early 1970s. In 1977, James finally found success as a recording artist after signing with Motown's Gordy Records, releasing the album Come Get It in 1978, which produced the hits You and I and Mary Jane. In 1981, James released his most
Are we singing Mary Jane or Mary J. Blige? This looked like hateration and holleration in this dancery. Oh. I don't need no hateration, holleration in this dancery. Hey, that. Hey, man, come on, bruh.
most successful album, Street Songs, which included career-defining hits such as Give It To Me Baby and Super Freak. By the
Give it to me,
1990s, the
baby.
drug
Give it
abuse
to-
was
Hey, listen though. This nigga has some bangers. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. Give it to me, baby. Give it to me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, hold on. What was the other one? What was the
Mary
other one?
Jane. In 1981, James released his most successful album, Street Songs, which included career-defining hits such as Give It To Me Baby and Super Freak. By the 19
Oh yeah, she's a super freak. She's super freaky, y'all. Yeah, hey, nigga had the bangers. Nigga had the bangers.
90s, the drug abuse was public knowledge. He was heavily addicted to cocaine and later admitted to spending $7,000 a week on cocaine for 5 years straight. On
$7,000 a week on cocaine for 5 years straight. Let's do the math, chat. So 7,000, right? Is 52 weeks in a year. $364,000 a year for 5 years. $1,820,000 in 5 years just on cocaine. Oh my God. Nigga spent almost $2 million in 5 years on just cocaine. His dealer was eating. That nigga was eating, okay? Good fucking Lord. That is insane.
On August 2nd, 1991, James and his girlfriend Tanya Hijazi were arrested on charges of holding 24-year-old Frances Ali hostage for up to 6 days, tying her up, forcing her to perform sexual acts, and burning her legs and abdomen with the hot end of a crack cocaine pipe. All of this during a week-long cocaine binge. Ultimately, James untied the victim, and she fled his house, eventually checking in to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, where her injuries were brought to the attention of police, and her story unfolded from there. Sadly, many of the allegations made by Ali were not upheld. Due to his strong legal defense team, James managed to avoid life imprisonment after being cleared of the torture charge. You see, this is only one of the many stories when it comes to Rick James being a horrible person. And it didn't seem like Rick James was apologetic, as when another one of his victims was recounting what she went through with him, he was seen audibly snoring in the courthouse. Other stories include minors, which I'd rather not talk about. This is another one of those things where people just seem to not talk about.
Wow.
Frank Sinatra. There is a very famous
The hell
picture
did
of
Frank
Francis
Sinatra do?
Albert Sinatra, aka Frank Sinatra. This image is the infamous mugshot photo, and who would have thought that one of the world's best-selling music artists' arrest was, well, for a crime that doesn't even exist anymore. And what was that crime, you may ask? Seduction. This charge was usually applied when a man convinced an unmarried woman of good repute to engage in an inappropriate encounter with him. There was generally a promise of marriage that would never actually come true, thereby ruining the woman's reputation. It was basically when a
Wow.
man would lie to a woman of high standards in order to fuck her, usually promising marriage. In other words, the official crime for all the 1930s busters with Riz.
That's
oh
crazy.
my fucking god. Riz Academy. In
83,000.
1938, a 23-year-old Sinatra found himself in that situation, and he was officially arrested and booked for seduction. The charge was eventually dropped, and it was later discovered that the supposedly single woman was in fact married. Later that year, the original charge was revised slightly, and Sinatra was again arrested, this time for adultery. Adultery is legal punishment for cheating on your spouse whom you're married to. It's a really outdated law, which some states are actively trying to get rid of. These states include Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Kansas, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Mississippi, New York, North Dakota, Oklahoma,
Damn.
South
Nigga, that's all
Carolina,
the
Utah,
states, isn't it?
Virginia, and Wisconsin. I mean, this is a pretty lighthearted one on the list. I know the woman still cheated, and I feel bad for whoever her husband was, but imagine if this mugshot was for something way more heinous. Imagine it was like,
Frank Sinatra mugshot for robbing blind old lady, then pushing her in front of a semi-truck.
It was a
just
thumbnail?
wouldn't
I thought so. I thought so.
feel right.
Hey, psst. I'm not one to gossip, but I heard you wasn't following me on Twitter and Instagram, and you wasn't updated when I wasn't able to post on YouTube, and you thought I was gone. So follow me on Twitter and Instagram. It's that simple. Enjoy the rest of the vid.
Elvis Presley. Elvis Aaron Presley was an American singer and
This nigga was filthy. I ain't gonna lie. This nigga was.
actor.
He
dubbed
was fucking a 14-year-old, wasn't he?
the king of rock and roll. He's regarded as one of the most significant cultural figures of the 20th century. His energized interpretations of songs and sexually provocative performance style led him to both great success and initial controversy. He became insanely famous with Heartbreak Hotel, which was his first #1 hit, being released in January 1956, and he quickly became a star. In Joel Williamson's book, Elvis Presley, A Southern Life, he writes about Elvis's life on the road, including his time spent with teenagers. Williamson
Yeah.
wrote that while on tour, Elvis preyed on a group of 3 14-year-old girls who would pillow fight, tickle, wrestle, and kiss Elvis, who was 22 at the time.
I told you, he was fucking minors, bro. This nigga is filthy, bro.
Year-old girls who would pillow fight. Williamson wrote that while on tour, Elvis preyed on a group of 3 14-year-old girls who would pillow fight, tickle, wrestle, and kiss Elvis, who was 22 at the time. He also met his wife when he was 24. She was 14. Though
What did I tell you?
they got married when she was 21, they claimed they never had sex. This has been questioned by many people, even to the point where a book has been written about it. Multiple books, actually. Now, Elvis was never charged with anything regarding these relationships, but he should have been, and I'm sure we can all agree on that. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like, and if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. Also, go follow me on Instagram. We're almost at 100,000 followers, and make sure to go buy some amazing clothing at earldoesn'texist.com. Oh yeah, and ear candy is out next month. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and all the other holidays, and Happy New Year, in case this is my last video of the year. I hope it's not, but in case it is. And I'll see you guys next time.
W vid though, tough. Some of these shits I never knew, so it's good to know.